Okay. What up, Claytriots? How's it going? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing good. It's, I'm streaming at you from kind of cloudy, I think, early morning, St. Louis, Missouri. I hope you're doing great out there. I'm doing great out here. Sorry. I've had something that might caught in my throat all morning. Okay. Since the last time you saw me, let's see. What did I do yesterday? Oh, I did. Oh, I beat the Regent on Slay the Spire 2. I don't know what happened. It took me I'd probably before this, I probably had 10 failed runs in a row to beat Ascension 9. And then I beat Ascension 9 and then Ascension 10 back to back. It was crazy. It was so easy. The strats, I did Ford strats. They worked really well. And so now I am officially done with the Regent. So I only have 2 more characters to go before I would consider the beta, at least, or whatever it's on now, to be 100%ed. So, and obviously the first, the Ascensions up to level 8 or 9 really aren't that hard. So, all in all, I have maybe 5 or 6 more tough runs to do, and then I'll be done. Let's see. So I did that. I didn't really do a whole lot else. I went to bed, woke up today, made some coffee. I was going to clip some videos, but it wasn't ready yet on the online clipper. I've started doing local recording, so I guess I could have just done it like that, which, by the way, I need to remember to do now. So that I can maybe start trying to upload, more quickly. But it gets kind of I guess sometimes I'm well, the news moves so fast that I feel like I'm almost out of date by the time I upload my videos by just waiting, 12 hours or whatever, waiting till the next morning to do it. Although I'm probably still going to wait till the morning to do it anyway, at least on my weekday ones. Just because that's I don't want to spend any more time after I'm done streaming in the night, clipping videos and doing all that shit. So I'll probably still do that in the morning anyway. But, I'm just starting to record locally just so I have the option at least of, clipping it and posting it earlier if I feel like it. And then, yeah, so I made some coffee. I came up here, or I didn't make some coffee. I just heated up some leftover coffee. And then I came up here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. I didn't get any sleep last night, by the way. My sleep was shit. I went to bed at 11. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning. So that's 3.5 hours of sleep. Couldn't get back to sleep. Went downstairs and watched TV. And then went back to bed at 4, and then woke up at 6 because my body can't not wake up at 6. So, I'll be doing my best here this morning. I do have some coffee at least. If in the middle of it I have to go make more coffee, though, I apologize for that inconvenience, but I might have to, depending on my caffeine necessities. So anyway, today's going to be a little bit of a different one. I usually on weekends, I like to either do gaming or do some educational content or something along those lines, right? Something long form. I guess you could consider this to be long form. So I wanted to do a deeper dive into a particular topic for today. And that particular topic is going to be the normie speaker, MoistCritikal himself. Okay. So so let me just say I actually do not have that much of a problem with MoistCritikal. I mean, I do understand a lot of the critiques of him. I do think that he is, as they say, a fence sitter. I do think that he does, I think he does try to always find the middle of any topic so that he will get the least amount of backlash possible. However, I still watch his stuff sometimes. Like, I don't really care that much. And I understand that it's like low effort, like slop. I get it. To be honest, my content is kind of low effort, not usually slop, I would say, because I think I'm trying to cover more serious stuff. But, I only have so much time in the day to prepare or whatever. But, I am just kind of reacting to stuff and trying to add commentary and all that good stuff. So, you know what? I can't really complain too much about that. But I honestly, I enjoy if I want to watch something, that's not very complex, not very doesn't need to tickle my brain too much, as Charlie would say, then I will watch his stuff sometimes. I don't necessarily have a problem with MoistCritikal. So I wanted to kind of go over his response here. So this is going to be, we're going to be going over a lot of stuff. I got a lot of secondary resources and all that sort of stuff to go over. But recently, MoistCritikal posted a video. Let me actually pull that up first. That was one that I did not prepare, because I'm planning on just watching this one from the response. So or this response. So here it is. One sec. Okay. So, okay. Originally, MoistCritikal, he posted this video on the H3 versus Idubbz lawsuit. So, and as you can see, I made it 27 minutes in. 27 minutes in, then I guess I got bored and moved on. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. I watched most of it. And so, I'm going to go ahead and start with H3. I'm assuming most people are aware. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming most people are aware. That's Ethan Klein's channel. He is the person who, originally, like, he came to prominence in YouTube for succeeding in a fair use lawsuit, like against another creator, or another creator launched a lawsuit against him. He used a fair use argument. It became, case law. It got put into it went to like an appellate court. It became case law, and now it is used and cited in cases all over, all the time, for people trying to launch frivolous lawsuits against people like reacting to their content. So he was originally kind of an internet darling of, kind of just like an internet darling, generally speaking. Yes, he was generally a reactionary, right? He was generally a reactionary person, especially in the early days. And he eventually made I'm going to give this quick backstory so people just understand the full context. Eventually, he made kind of like a progressive pivot. Like, he disavowed, the many, many times they said the N-word in the past. He disavowed some of his, less than, his somewhat problematic, statements that he made in the past and all that stuff. And then he joined a show with Hassan. Hassan is, one of the few like popular leftist Twitch streamers. There's not that many of them. It's not a very popular ideology to have on Twitch. But so he started a show with Hassan called Leftovers. And then there's a big falling out. And then like very similar, I would say, to what happened with him and Trisha Paytas, to be honest. A big falling out. And it was all over October 7th. So there's obviously going to be, a lot of Israel-Palestine discussion as well in this video. But and then that led us to this current moment where he is now suing a whole bunch of people. He has essentially become the person, like the embodiment of the saying, you either die a hero or you become the villain, right? That is basically what he has become, the villain that he originally set out to destroy back when he was, on the good side. That's kind of my interpretation of these events. And I know a decent amount. I followed this relatively closely. I'm trying to just start with a little bit of a high level overview of Ethan Klein, what he's been through and what has led him to this particular moment. Idubbz is another streamer, used to be friends with Ethan, and I think that I thought that he was also kind of reactionary, if I remember correctly. And he made, I think, a pivot as well. But it seems like October 7th didn't break his brain, apparently. Like it's like a tale of two stories. Like one where October 7th just breaks your brain, that's Ethan Klein, and one where you just where it doesn't, and that seems to be Idubbz, from my personal opinion. So honestly, I don't watch anything that Idubbz does. I don't know if he's still, if he, I don't know how reactionary he is or whatever, right? So take all of my like knowledge about him with a grain of salt. I used to actually kind of watch H3 occasionally. Like he was like my apolitical content when I was too tired of watching politics stuff. The Goofs and Gas channel, as I used to say, or as he used to say. So anyway, there's the quick backstory of the key major players. Then you got MoistCritikal here. He decided to make this video discussing the H3 versus Idubbz lawsuit. So I think that he talked a little bit about how some people put it in front of him. They are like maybe on stream or something, asked him to cover it, and so he like looked into it, and then he decided he found out more about it, and covered it. And the general conclusion of this original video, because I'm not going to watch both videos, I'm only going to watch the next video about his, like, the response or whatever, right? Because I think we can get more good information out of that and have more good discussion out of that. So I'm just going to give a high level overview. The general thing that happened in this video is that he talked, so he did, in my opinion, do classic Charlie move and fence it a lot, right? He did equate he kept going back to talking about how Idubbz like it was a really shitty thing to do. He shouldn't have done it. Again, that doesn't matter for fair use, in my opinion, or not in my opinion, in law. Like, who cares? Who cares if it's a shitty thing to do? It's legal and perfectly valid for him to do it, because he didn't say anything. And so and the basic premise is, or I guess I should actually start with that. The basic premise of what happened was that what Idubbz is being sued for is, this is Idubbz right here, this dragon. He usually doesn't look like, or I don't know if on his streams he always streams as a dragon, but in real life he's not actually a dragon. So he posted this, or he put this as a watermark on his stream. And the understanding that I have as to why he did this was because Ethan Klein was clipping his stream all the time, and he wanted to put up a defense to stop that, right? To stop that from happening. So he put up this post that Destiny wrote. Destiny said, "Quick daily reminder that Ethan from H3H3 is likely a pedophile who has molested his own children." Obviously an important thing to say. As far as I know, completely untrue, completely false. But he's not saying it though. Idubbz isn't saying it. Idubbz just posted it on here, or like put it up as a line of defense against Ethan Klein clipping his content. And so yeah, so that was like the whole original, like the actual like reason that Idubbz is currently being sued. And so let's see. So MoistCritikal, he was talking about it, and generally speaking, I got the vibe that he was trying to both sides everything. He was trying to be like, well, what Idubbz did is wrong. It is wrong. He shouldn't have done it. And maybe you can make that assessment from a moral perspective. Like, he shouldn't have done it from a moral perspective. Personally, I don't really give a shit. He's just posting what another streamer said. I cover what streamers say all the time, or I cover what other people say all the time. That does not in any way mean that I endorse it. That's a stupid argument. That's the only way to have discourse and to cover stuff, is to be able to, say what people say. So Charlie kind of like, did like, oh, it's terrible, he shouldn't have done it. And even he talked to both of them. He talked to Ethan Klein, got Ethan's response, went through it. He also talked to Idubbz, got his response. Idubbz apparently claimed that, yeah, he probably shouldn't have done this, or like he regrets doing this, or it wasn't the best thing to do. That's his decision to make. I don't really think he needs to say that at all. Like I said, he's just posting someone else's words. That's just, that's just commentary. That's just like, like, who cares? But anyway, apparently after doing that, he got the most obvious backlash that was going to come in the world, because there's always going to be backlash to him covering this video. No matter what. First of all, it's drama slop, right? I mean, it's serious. Okay, there's a serious underlying thing that's happening, in that Ethan Klein is weaponizing his money and his just his money and his power in order to try to target people, to silence them, right? He's trying to do this to target them and silence them. And he does not, I genuinely do not believe that he thinks that he is going to win any of these lawsuits. He's just doing it for two reasons: to silence people and to create content. And so he is the obvious villain here. he just is. You can't, like, you shouldn't try to both sides it when there's an obvious villain and an obvious victim, right? In my personal opinion, I think that that's like not a good thing to do. It would be not that dissimilar. I'm not claiming he's doing this or anything, and it's obviously a different scale, but like saying, oh, well, what that man did to that woman was terrible, when he like sexually assaulted her or whatever. But did you see what like she was wearing? I mean, she probably shouldn't have been wearing that. Like, you're doing victim blaming whenever you do that. Okay. And in the same way, you're kind of doing victim blaming here. It's obviously different scales and it's not as serious. But it is like, a silly thing to do. So anyway, the prime reason that I wanted to cover this, and particularly to go through this video that MoistCritikal released about his response to this backlash, because there's backlash on both sides, by the way. There's people who are saying that he's too being too generous to Idubbz because they hate Idubbz, and there's people who saying he's being too generous to Ethan because he's scared of Ethan, and scared of his audience, generally speaking. So like, he's getting shit from both sides, obviously, and he probably expected that. I'm not gonna say they didn't. But anyway, I wanted to watch his response and I wanted to go over it, because the prime thing that I want to talk about today, when it comes to this, is cowardice, right? Moral cowardice. And I'm not saying this as a pejorative, okay? I'm not saying that Charlie's a coward and that's a bad thing, right? I'm not making a claim of, I'm not making a claim that this is bad, that he's a coward, or that he's a bad person because he's a coward, when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I do want to have a discussion about moral cowardice, because in some regards, we all engage in moral cowardice every day. When I go to work, I do not, I do not like discuss a lot of my political opinions in the middle of the office, right? Or in the middle of a meeting, right? Even though I think that it's important for people to understand my worldview, I think it's important as a society in order to move forward in the world. I do not do that because I am scared. I am scared of getting fired for making people uncomfortable by talking about my worldview, which is, somewhat radically different than the average hegemonic position in America, right? So I engage in moral cowardice when I do that. And that is okay. That's what I want to, that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is that everybody engages in moral cowardice to some regard in some aspects. And it is okay to do so sometimes. And it is also, but it also can be called out if you want to. And I think I'm going to engage in a little bit of both, because like, Charlie here is under no obligation to talk about these things. And he is under no obligation to have moral courage and moral clarity. And so it is what it is. That's his choice to make. But I mean, I'm also going to make assessments on that, because this is, I do think that he's a very powerful person, or like a person who has a lot of, money, wealth, power. And so I'm going to probably call him out a little bit on that as well. So anyway, that's kind of the more broad topic that I want to talk about as we go through his response. And I got a whole bunch of other, secondary resources. And remember, the Idubbz lawsuit is just one of many, right? There are many other lawsuits that Ethan Klein is currently engaging in. One that he is seemingly about to lose against Denims is particularly important. But anyway, with all of that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into this response. And then I'm going to interject with commentary, and I'm going to go over some of the other information as we go in order to, in order to try to analyze Charlie's response, in order to, in order to try to see if we think that he is justified in his response here. And if, if we think he should be doing better, whatever, I don't know. Let's go ahead and watch this. I've also, by the way, I have watched this one as well. So I know, generally speaking, what he's going to say. And that's why I've been able to prepare a bunch of stuff to go along with it. But yeah, I just want people to be aware. This is not a live react. Okay. This is I have watched this. I know what he's going to say. But I wanted to go over it anyway in sort of a deep dive manner to get more, try and have a bigger discussion around things like moral cowardice.
I think it was going to be a pretty poisonous topic where the only winning move is not to play in regards to covering the H3 versus Idubbz lawsuit. But sometimes you put your hand on the stove to see if it's still hot. And boy howdy is it ever. Like I've always said, I treat this channel like a diary. I just blabber about things that I feel like talking on, just sitting in my chair, kicking my little 5'6" petite leggies around and just giving my thoughts from the old steel trap up here on it. And one topic I've always covered is creator lawsuits. So when I heard about the H3 versus Idubbz,
that's true. He does have a history of covering creator lawsuits, and he, and has always been very consistent. He has always been very, very consistent about, saying that it's not okay, that we shouldn't be doing this. He very rarely makes a legal argument based on that this is just legally allowed to do. It's very often he makes a moral argument that we shouldn't be doing it because it's bad for the community or whatever. But he is, generally speaking, on the right side of all of those, all of those issues.
Defamation case, I wanted to take a peek into it, sink my teeth in there and see what's going on, because that is a pretty wild thing to learn about. And learn about it I did like a little scholar. It was a new lawsuit. It was only public knowledge for 24 hours, so I did as much research on it as I could and watched the Idubbz stream that started, that is the main catalyst of it. I watched the H.
Yeah, so that was what I showed you before, is where that sort of screenshot came from. And you might be asking yourself, why? Why is Ethan Klein suing Idubbz over statements that Destiny made? How is that even allowed, right? And the answer is it's not. It'll fail immediately because Idubbz never made those statements. They aren't his defamatory statements. They're Destiny's defamatory statements. Okay, so the only person he would have any chance of actually winning against would be Destiny. This is a completely pointless lawsuit that will inevitably fail, but it will drain people of their of all of their time and resources.
H3 stream where he explains his lawsuit, and I talked to both parties, Idubbz and Ethan, to try and get the clearest, most complete picture of everything going on here, and then I just gave you my view on it from the old Floridian homunculus eyes. And I think I've always made it abundantly clear, you're always welcome to disagree with me.
Okay, problem number one that I'm seeing is that he is saying that he did a bunch of research for this, but he didn't do enough then. And I don't really think just watching the stream is a good use of your time when you're trying to do research for this, like the stream that started it all or whatever. Sure, you should watch it and get some context or whatever, but as far as I'm aware, most of that stream was I don't know if it was even really related to the Ethan Klein situation. He was just posting that to keep I honestly I haven't watched it because again, I think it's kind of pointless to my time in terms of like researching this stuff. And so I think that the problem here is that he didn't even know, apparently, that there were a bunch of other lawsuits that Ethan Klein was in. Or maybe he did. I can't remember. Maybe he did know that, but he didn't look into the veracity of any of those as well. That would have been important context, right? To know if all of those various other lawsuits were, legally sound or not. And then also, obviously, he's not a lawyer, but he could have reached out to someone who is, knowledgeable on the subject as well, if he wanted to talk about it in a more serious manner. Now, obviously, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to, engage, like it's his content. He can be as lazy with it as he wants. I'm just saying that if you do want to wade into these waters and have a more like a better knowledge of it and opinion of it, then that's what you should do. But yeah, but it's fine. Let's keep going.
Always kept that door wide open because I actually value differences of opinion. I hate echo chambers. I spit on that constantly.
It's stupid.
I actively shut down the idea that you have to agree with everything I say or else I hate you. You're tacky and I hate you. Throughout all my content, from the womb to the tomb, I have always welcomed discussion and people having a difference of opinion because, as I've always said, I think when you surround yourself with sycophants and you only lock yourself into one way of viewing things, you do yourself a disservice.
I don't think that's true. I think that he has created a perfect little world of non-controversy, right? And I do think that he chooses to live in that world, the world of never really taking a side on things. I truly do believe that he does. And like I said at the beginning, that's not the worst thing in the world. However, if you want to look at people who here's what I would say. I actively engage with people of differing opinions than mine all the time. Both people who maybe ideologically are somewhat aligned with me, but disagree with me on methods or whatever, right? Like many of my fellow DSA members, I completely disagree with. And then I also have like chuds in my family and I talk with them all the time about shit too, right? Also, when I watch videos, I usually watch them from, reactionary biased news sources that are opposed to my worldview. Like I engage with all of these things relatively critically. The problem, I think, is more that MoistCritikal Charlie here, he doesn't truly engage with either side at all. He has like a very he non-opinion is his opinion, or like it's a very similar to radical centrist, right? Where they don't really have an ideology. They just try to find somewhere in the middle so that they can say, well, both sides have their points or both sides have their problems. And I want to be, I don't want to listen to just one side. It's the classic, like this is like 2016 era radical centrist talking point bullshit. And I think that that's kind of pointless. I think that that's, we've moved past that, I think, as a society, generally speaking. Like the idea that being in the center is somehow like a brave stance to take or something. It's not. It is cowardice. I want to be absolutely clear. It is moral cowardice to not have an ideology and to not advocate for that ideology. Even if it's an ideology I oppose, it is still moral coward, or like it is moral cowardice to not make that decision or not try to, just not have an ideology. There is no that is moral cowardice, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think it is a bad thing to just be constantly locked in a bubble. Now, the reason I mention that is because I made the mistake, I committed the old sin of taking a peek at what the discussion was around this video on, like, Reddit and Twitter, which something I haven't done in quite a few moons now. I was expecting, like, actual discussion because I'm new to this topic and I wanted to see, okay, well, what are some things that I didn't know about? What can I learn about here and dive deeper on? And there was some very valid critiques and some information that I could get my hands on and learn more about. But boy howdy, there was a lot of hoopla that I couldn't have even imagined would be like a controversial thing. And there were people that were proudly stating they didn't watch the video and then getting angry at things they assumed I might have said in it, or attacking me for things that I never said that aren't in the video because they didn't watch it, or they're replying to someone who's just actually making shit up that they're pulling out of their ass that I never said. So it just feels fucking useless to even engage in the topic in that case. Like, it's so odd. Like, one that I didn't expect was just me mentioning that I'm not online as much as I used to be was apparently, like, a highly debated topic.
The guy whose entire career is front-running whatever's going viral is saying that he doesn't know what's going on the internet. All right. I mean, obviously, we got to take...
By the way, this is Mike from PA. I watch Mike from PA all the time. He is actually one of the, I think, one of my most trusted resources when it comes to... not drama slop. I don't really care about his opinion on drama slop, but when it comes to legal stuff, like these particular lawsuits, because he has he went to law school. So I trust his opinion on a lot of those things. Also, he's a fellow DSA comrade. So, you know, I got to show solidarity with him here.
We got to take his... doesn't know what's going is front running whatever's going viral is saying that he doesn't know what's going on the internet. All right. I mean, obviously, we got to take his word for it, right? Let's see what videos he's been making. Lego. Watch Mojo got even more pathetic. Degenerate cringe. Lego vigilantes. Lego scandal keeps getting messy. But responds to the Lego scandal. Lego scandal is getting extremely dangerous and scary.
See, this isn't the best argument to make, in my opinion, from Mike from PA here, but because he's just going through and showing all the Lego stuff or whatever. But I do think that Charlie should know about this stuff if he is well, okay. Look, he should know about the other lawsuits if he's going to cover it, in my personal opinion, or if he's going to cover it seriously. Like I said, he doesn't have to cover it seriously. He can cover it. He can cover it however he wants. But if he's going to, you know, if he wants to avoid the backlash to some extent, I do think he has to be more knowledgeable on this stuff. I don't know if I necessarily believe that he is unaware of this. I have a hard time believing that he's not aware of the litany of H3 lawsuits, just because of how I feel like it's pretty prominent on the internet. And it's been going on for years now. So I don't know how much I trust that he actually doesn't know, didn't know about this stuff. And also, as the person who is as the person who is I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back to me. Sorry. I got a little distracted in my head. It's early. Okay. I'm drinking. I need to drink more of my coffee.
Cringe officer embarrasses himself. Legos.
Oh, the person who talks about the loss or fair use stuff all the time or whatever, or every single lawsuit that comes up, he always talks about any sort of any person who's impending on the internet's the internet's protected speech when it comes to React content. He always covers that every single time. But for some reason, he didn't cover the Denims lawsuit. And the Denims lawsuit, by the way, is potentially the most important free speech lawsuit on the internet of all time. Potentially even more important than Ethan Klein's original lawsuit. So I just find it a little bit curious that if he is, so concerned about this stuff that he wouldn't be aware of it. It's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth. So I don't know. I'm not in his head. I don't know. I do trust him that he's not online as much. Sure. but even not being online, it feels like he covers these things a lot.
Scandal keeps getting crazier.
The gist of it is, when I was talking about the defamation lawsuit, I also mentioned that Ethan has other active lawsuits against other creators, and I called him the Nintendo of YouTubers because he's become extremely litigious.
So he did know that.
But I didn't dive into those other lawsuits because I didn't know much about them.
But then you should have dove into them. That's the whole reason. That's literally the whole reason that you should dive into them. And here's the thing. I think that he was avoiding those lawsuits. I think that he was avoiding information related to them. And maybe he didn't know that much about them, but I think it's particularly because of avoidance. Because at the core of all of these lawsuits, let's remember, is Zionism, right? Ethan Klein has, radically reshaped his audience, generally speaking, destroyed his old audience of progressives and became a channel particularly of reactionaries and Zionists. And so the issue of Israel-Palestine is going to come up at the core of this problem. And I don't know. I can't imagine me, if I was going to cover this, if I was going to cover the Idubbz lawsuit, and I didn't know anything about it, I can't imagine that I wouldn't have gone and looked up all of these other lawsuits that he's doing to see if there's a pattern or something. Like I said, I'm different than Charlie. I would want to have all of that information ready if I didn't know it off of the top of my head. But yeah, and there's so much information out there, negative information against Ethan Klein in terms of all of these lawsuits, that it's I just think I genuinely feel like he was just either intentionally avoiding the topic or I just didn't have I think that's it. I just think he was genuinely avoiding it.
And that claim is apparently extremely hard to believe because everyone thinks and assumes that I am terminally online like I used to be 2 or 3 years ago. But when I said that's not the case, there are quite a few people that just don't believe me. Unfathomable moment, so it must be a lie. So
yeah, so here's another problem, right? Is that he I already talked a little bit about the fair use stuff. He says that he claims to care a lot about fair use stuff on the internet and whatnot, and yet he has refused to cover Denham's lawsuit, which is the most important fair use lawsuit of all time on the internet, right? He claims to care about that, but yet he hasn't covered it. He hasn't even looked into it. The most important fair use lawsuit of all time. So it's a little bit surprising, but I think that what Mike from PA was trying to get at, and maybe he didn't make his point very great in my personal opinion, was that, where is it? The things that Charlie does seem to hop on right away, and this is when he said he became less online 2 years ago or whatever, right? This is about Kayagate, right? Look at this. This is October 8th, 2025. October 8th, 2025. Kayagate was October 7th, 2025. The day after, this is all drama slop, by the way. This is for those unaware, Kayagate was when, a bunch of people hallucinated that Hassan had, shocked his dog. They had no evidence of it except for the dog yelping once as Hassan's hand happened to go down to the table. I'm going to be honest. I think it's a whole lot of bullshit. I think that, obviously, right? I think that you can genuinely tell somebody's intelligence by if they believe the Kayagate shit. Okay. You can genuinely tell somebody's intelligent. They are a dum-dum. They are stupid if they actually believe that shit. That dog is one of the most loved dogs in the fucking world. And then obviously all of the people complaining about it do not give 2 fucks about animals whatsoever, right? Nobody gives a shit about animals. They're all, the only thing they care about is attacking Hassan. This is all obvious, right? This is basic information. But he covered this, thing that is unimportant, this drama slop, the day after it happened. I'm just going to play a quick, the entire thing is him railing against Hassan and saying that obviously Hassan did it, basically, and saying that and never even talking to Hassan about it, like never even like getting his details or whatever, right? Like, so I'm just gonna play a short clip here of him from it, just like this little end part. But
Kaya's on stream 8 to 10 hours a day, and then just all of a sudden, randomly, he decides to shock her today. Yeah, great story you've got there, Buster. Really shows how stupid everyone's become. Everyone's really...
This is what, like, a prime argument that people have made against Kaya Gate is that, she's on stream 24/7, and this has literally never happened.
fucking dumb to believe in something like this, all just because he hasn't in the past on stream. And then, of course, people take it a step further, saying none of his friends have ever called him out for using a shock collar, thus this has to be a load of, fucking horseradish. I think this is a very weak argument, because I know if Hassan does use a shock collar, he would never let any of his friends see that, because he would know that they would call him out for it and give him shit for it, especially someone like Maya. So they just wouldn't know. Thus, they wouldn't be able to call him out on it or anything like that. And this whole idea of making an assumption based on things that are outside of what is clearly visible here, I think is useless. Just because you haven't seen it in the past on stream doesn't mean it's not something he's done before, or it is very possible this was the first time. That's also very true too. What are his shock collars used for? Training. And what is he currently doing with Kaya, at least based on what I've heard him talk about? Training her, or at least expanding the training on place. So maybe he decided that this might be a good tool to use for the first time. That's also entirely possible. It's not some like far-fetched crazy conspiracies that only haters are drumming up and, falling in line with. It's a very plausible thing based on what is clearly visible in the clips. Anyway, just wanted to blabber about this.
Yeah. So you see, like, he clearly made his, he made his assessment, and he is very much, in this particular instance, not both sidesing it. You'll notice that this is another thing, is that he, when it comes to anybody who is like generally like it's a pretty classic, centrist argument, like a centrist news argument, like anytime a person on the left allegedly does anything wrong, you can go all in on it, right? You can go all in on it, and that's generally speaking allowed, because being on the left has been hugely propagandized. Like most people in America have been hugely propagandized against anything vaguely left-leaning in terms of like politics, right? So when someone on the left does something, when a Democrat, Democrats aren't even really on the left, but when a Democrat does something, you can rail into them, you can complain about, let's say Graham Plattner, right? Graham Plattner had a consensual sexting event with another person while he was married, right? You can complain and rail about it all you want. That's perfectly fine, and that's considered the centrist normal position. But then when like Ken Paxton or whatever like has an affair or frees pedophiles from prison or whatever, it's just like not talked about, or you just kind of like, well, you kind of both sides everything or whatever, right? It's a very classic like mainstream media way of framing things, right? And it does have an impact, right? It does have an impact on discourse to constantly frame things in this way, as opposed to, like I said, having moral clarity and moral courage to come out and just say to cover things honestly and truthfully, regardless of whether it will, piss people off or whatever, right? But anyway, that was just a little side note covering how, when it comes to Kaya Gate, he covered it immediately, and he did not ask for Hassan's opinion, and he just framed it as though it was obvious that Hassan shocks his dog or whatever. And he did not even cover Denham's lawsuit, the most important fair use lawsuit of all time, for an entire year until this particular video.
So here's a streamer debunking by going through my channel and noticing I've posted a lot of videos on Lego, for example, because of the big Lego scandal, which I think is a very interesting...
By the way, I went back and watched Mike from PA's like full stream, and he had a lot of really good points about Charlie, okay? This is just, Charlie is picking and choosing the clips that he wants to show in order to make his point seem better. But he is not. The part that I talked about Kyllegate, that was something that I learned from watching the Mike from PA stream. So I'm just letting you know, like there were a lot of really good points in that entire stream. But this one about showing the Lego stuff, I think is a little bit whatever.
Example to use off the point he's making about me front running every viral story. Because with the Reckless Bin versus Bricks and Minifigs Lego scandal, I actually was getting called out for avoiding that and ignoring it because I was late to covering it. Reckless Bin dropped part 1 on May 21st, and I heard about it from Stream Chat, and then a friend sent it to me as well, and I made my video covering it on May 26th, 5 days later, but in that interim, people were saying I was avoiding the topic. I just find it fascinating how, if I cover something quickly or extensively, like in the case of the Lego scandal, that's a problem. I'm just front-running shit to capitalize off the virality of it. But if I am late to covering something, well, that means that I was avoiding it, and I must have known about it the whole time and had ulterior motives to avoid the topic out of cowardice, and I only talk about it when pressed. Feels like a lose-lose. If I'm too quick to something or too interested in something, so I make a lot of content on it, well, then I'm just there to front-run it and capitalize off it being popular. But if I'm too slow to it, well, it means I was actually avoiding it the whole time, and when I do cover it, well, it's only because people pressured me.
Well, I think that he does avoid it. I don't know if it's like conscious or not, but I do think he avoids it. He had to, like, I'm telling you, it's the most important fair use case of all time. Like, how is he not covering it? Fair use on the internet used to, like, he says he cares about that, and it's the most important one of all time. How is he not, like, how has he not heard of it? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I do kind of believe that he at least had to have known peripherally about the Denims lawsuit. And in my opinion, chose not to cover it. And I don't know. I do think that there is some moral cowardice in what stories he does choose to cover and how he does choose to cover them. And like I said at the beginning, that's fine. It's his channel. If he wants to engage in cowardice, that is fine. But I don't know. I just wish people were more honest. Like I said at the beginning, I engage in moral cowardice too sometimes. It's not that big of a deal. But I just wish people would just be more honest about it. That's my thing.
So where's the Goldilocks zone? I can't be too quick to something or too interested in it, because that's frowned upon. But I also can't be too slow to it or not cover it.
You can be as quick as you want. I don't care. If you are covering, if you're covering, like, if you want to cover your random viral slop or whatever, you can be as quick as you want. I don't care. The people who are complaining about that are just freaks, right? Like, there is no, like, there is no, like, political consideration to covering viral, apolitical shit, right? Like the Bricks and Minifigs stuff. That's a very easy story to cover because it doesn't require any moral courage. There is no political systems that are being challenged. There is no structural, like, institutional stuff that's being, and he has engaged in moral courage before. I believe he claimed, or he talked about ICE when they shot Renee Good. Like, that's good. That's moral courage that he did there, right? But yeah, I think that he often just chooses to cover just very, like, morally, like, gray, like, there are, like, morally, like, non-consequential stories all the time, and I don't care if you go fast or not. The people who would complain about, like, not covering the Lego story fast enough, or that he's, like, he's slow rolling it because he actually agrees with Bricks and Minifigs, that's just stupid. That's just, who cares? There's always going to be a commenter for something. You should be able to use your brain and determine, like, whether that's a serious thing, like, that should be taken into consideration or not. There are no moral or political consequences to covering that story. So who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying?
At all.
I don't know.
Because then that must mean that I knew about it the whole time. I'm damn near omniscient, I guess. I see everything, and thus, if I am slow to it or don't talk about it, then there was an ulterior motive and a deeper reason that's nefarious. So where is the Goldilocks zone? personally don't see why it's so hard to believe.
And he's also equating two different things. He's like I kind of like I was trying to say, but I want to say it a little bit clearer. He's equating people complaining that he slow rolls things of political and moral consequence, things that take actual political and moral courage, and he's equating that to people complaining that he's like slow rolling like apolitical slop or whatever that has no political weight, has no moral weight, and doesn't require any moral courage to do. Those are just completely, apples and oranges. They aren't really comparable.
That, considering in a lot of the stories I cover, they have already been covered by others, like Dolan Darkus, for example. Slop Live has beaten me to like every topic for the last year, basically. And the way I find out about a lot of the things I cover is through, like I said, friends sending it to me, or when I do stream, which isn't daily, I'm a semi-retired streamer, but when I do stream chat, putting things on my radar. And naturally, what people are probably going to be sending are the popular things, because that's what they've seen. So that's usually what I get sent. But it's not all the time either. Like on his stream, as he was,
I guess maybe there's the possibility that his audience is just so reactionary centrist like him or something, right? And they don't even put like Denham's lawsuit on his radar or whatever. But then I would expect him to say that, like, then he can't claim to care about that stuff. Then he can't claim to be like serious or care about or be like serious and care about free speech on the internet if he's avoiding the most important fair use lawsuit of all time.
Scrolling around talking about how it's only like, the big popular stuff. He passed multiple things that weren't, like that video about not enough people think about this. That's about sand. It's literally just about sand and sand related crimes like the Sand Mafia. And he also even called out another one about ranking every item on Panda Express's menu. He used that to like belittle me about like, it's not good is the thing he was insinuating there. But it's not like a viral story. It's not like Panda Express is a huge topic you got to strike while the...
Well, okay. Like I said, I watched Mike from PA's video. Okay. He talks about, he is generally speaking like a hater of Charlie. I think he doesn't like his content. He thinks it's boring. He thinks it's low effort, low energy. And to be honest, he's kind of right. It is like made for like that like least common denominator, like base person on the internet, I would say. The reason Mike from PA has specific goals, right? He is he has specific political and moral goals that he is trying to help accomplish in our society to make the world better. And that's what his entire content is engaged around. And obviously those are two separate things, right? What Mike is trying to do versus what Charlie is, Charlie's not really trying to do anything except exist and live his life on the internet. So those are two different things. And obviously, in my opinion, one requires a lot more moral clarity and moral courage than the other. Mike from PA has a lot of moral courage, a lot of, he's very opinionated. Sure, I don't agree with everything he says. But he does go out there and he advocates for his beliefs, and it's not purely for content. Like he is doing it for an actual trying to accomplish something. And so I think that in that regard, he views Charlie's content as just, kind of just slop or whatever, which, to be honest, it kind of is.
Iron's hot. My channel has always just been things that I'm interested in.
Don't get me wrong, though. Charlie does occasionally do things that help bring attention to potentially like underserved stories or whatever. Like the bricks and minifigs thing. I'm sure, whoever that first person that he was talking about that was covering it, or like Reckless Ben, I guess, like was already probably going somewhat viral with it. But once Charlie talks about it, it's over, right? And also he had the moral courage when it comes to the ice stuff too. So, like sometimes he does engage in that, but most of the time he just engages in, sitting in the safe comfort of never taking like a side.
At the time. And yeah, there are a lot of stories I get sent that I do find interesting and do yap about, like the Lego scandal. But I really do miss a lot more these days than I did when I was very online all the time, like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know like how else to prove it to you. I mean, I guess like you can look at my Twitter page and see that I have 2 tweets in like the last 2 years, or on Instagram I make like a post every month and a half, and a lot of them are just me hanging out with my farm animals. Like, you can check my streaming history and see that I'm not an active streamer. Like, I'm an active streamer, but I'm not streaming with the same frequency I used to, and I'm not putting in really long hours aside from when I did Destiny 2 Salvation's Edge Blind recently, which was fucking exciting. But I don't really know how else to say it. I just don't see everything that happens online, and I can't believe that's something that's apparently like a big issue. Or
it's not that you don't see everything that happens online. I don't give a shit if you don't see everything that happens online. It's the problem is that you claim to care about these things, and then you don't cover them, right? You claim to care about, free speech on the internet or whatever, right? And like not hitting people with like blatant litigation and stuff, and then you don't cover it, which just shows that you either don't care about that, like you don't actually care about it, or or you're just tuned out and unaware, which again means you don't care about it. So I don't know.
Are so unbelievable. Like, in fact, it's embarrassing for me that people can't imagine that I'm not online all the time.
All the lazy ass fucking thumbnails. Also, he has the Asmongoldien outfit where he only wears a dirty white t-shirt in every fucking thumbnail. God, every single video is like, guys, he's gotta stay offline to make his Panda Express tier list.
Well, now you've gone way too far. How fucking dare you? I have been wearing white t-shirts, not dirty white t-shirts, by the way, pristine.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't understand what the point of this is. Like, I don't understand why, why Charlie is even, like, getting pissed off about Mike from PA's stuff. Mike from PA isn't as big as Charlie. From PA is, like, a person just, like, covering this from, like, an actual, like, political perspective, as I'm kind of trying to do right now. And so I don't really understand why he's going so hard against Mike from PA, as opposed to like anybody else who had problems with it, except for potentially, like, for instance, like he could have like had like Hassan was also critical of it. I think Denim's was a little bit critical of it. Like, like he could have had anybody. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious why he decided to choose these particular like Mike from PA clips, but I don't know.
Jim Mint white t-shirts since high school, since Asmongold was in diapers. It's like me saying that you have a MoistCritikal hair and beard combo. But anyway, now let's talk about the other lawsuits here, because that was...
Okay, this is where like we get into like the real actual stuff, because so this first part is him just complaining about people calling him a fence sitter, which I think is important to talk about. So I didn't skip past it, even though it is like the less important portion of this. But overall, I would say that I do think that, I mean, it hasn't changed my opinion. If you claim to care about this free speech on the internet, then you should have been aware of these lawsuits for a long time. But so if you are going to decide to cover them, especially, then you should have put the time and effort into understanding those lawsuits as well, in my personal opinion.
Was a big point.
If you want to cover it from like from a like serious perspective, I guess. I think the problem that he has is a lot of time is that he can't decide whether he wants to cover something like seriously or cover it as like a like just like slop or whatever. So yeah,
that people were very upset with, that I didn't extensively cover those as well when talking about the defamation lawsuit. And since I didn't do so, and people didn't believe that it was because I didn't know about it, they are accusing me of knowingly avoiding it, or even silently championing for those lawsuits, which I find befuddling, because throughout my entire time on YouTube, the 18 or 19 years on YouTube, I think I have made it beyond crystal clear how much I dislike this litigious approach to online discourse, and really just this excessive use of the legal system for strong arming or silencing. Like, I have made, I don't know how many videos covering cases even outside of like the internet scope of like, you know, sometimes the legal toilet paper flying back and forth, but like just in general, like the willy-nilly lawsuits that fly around from like corporations attempting to bully people too. Like, I don't know why anyone would think for a second that.
Yeah, so then how could you, again, how could you not know? How could you not know that the most prominent free speech, or like the most prominent, like former most prominent fair use content person, like Ethan Klein, who got the modern day modern day fair use doctrine applied to YouTube, is like launching into a fair use, like trying to destroy that same fair use for the past year. It just seems absurd to say that you care about that and didn't know about it.
I would be avoiding talking about that or agreeing with it. Why would I? I never have in the past, so why would I start now? You just don't like me, which is totally fine. I get it. Not everyone likes.
Also, there is, like I said, a possibility that he was just like subconsciously avoiding this topic as well. To like avoid the controversy, or it may have been conscious, it may have been subconscious.
It's the old Florida peach, but you're just viewing it in bad faith and making that assumption, and it's incorrect. Because the truth is, and this shouldn't come as a shock to anyone, after learning more about those other lawsuits that Ethan is engaged in, like the fair use lawsuits and such, guess what? I don't agree with those either. Now, obviously, I don't know all the nitty-gritty around every single lawsuit.
Caveats.
I've only just begun learning about all of these, but from everything I've seen from the lawsuits that he has actively going on, there's nothing in there that makes me think that this is like the right way of doing things, or that this is different from other times in the past where creators have sued each other over disputes. Now,
You'll also notice just, I mean, this is kind of more just aesthetic critique, but he does put a lot of wishy-washy language in everything he says. Like, well, I mean, I don't know everything, or, he never really makes just a morally, defined statement. Like, it is wrong. Everything that I've learned about it is that it's wrong. And then just leaves it at that. He very much caveats everything. That's more of an aesthetic critique than an actual, critique on the substance, but still, I think it's important to point out that that's another reason that you get called a fence sitter a lot, Charlie, is that you don't just make moral statements like without caveating them 100 times.
Clearly, I don't know all the nuance and intricacies of fair use law. Ethan would certainly know that better than I, and many others would. So maybe he has some strong cases here.
See,
and in one of the instances with one of these streamers, it did seem like they were just uninterrupted playing the video without even an attempt to transform it. So
I don't know who he's talking about in that particular one.
Oh, maybe that could be like a easy fair use win for Ethan. But I just don't think that's a win overall. Like, for as long as I've been on the internet, that kind of behavior.
See, I personally don't know about the other lawsuits, because the only one that I've really been keeping track of is the Denims one. I know that Casey Tron had one. I don't really know anything about Casey Tron, but she I know that Ethan forced her to do a ISIS style hostage video, so we can watch that. This is something that is relatively, I think, well known on the internet, should be relatively easy to find for Charlie. But if Charlie, if you want, here's Casey Tron being forced to apologize by Ethan Klein because she got bullied into submission by by Ethan's millions of dollars of funding.
By stating, I take responsibility for infringing the content nuke. The lawsuit was not frivolous. When I said the lawsuit was frivolous and based on misogyny, it was to garner sympathy, protect my own reputation.
By the way, it was frivolous and it was based on misogyny. He's only recently started targeting men, but he's targeting smaller creator men. But he definitely has a bias towards targeting women. He really likes to try to force women to submit to the things that he wants.
And retaliate against the clients. This lawsuit has given me a greater understanding of copyright protection, people's copyrights, and the importance of protecting copyrights in the online content creation community. It is important for the entire content creation community to respect the intellectual property rights of other creators, and I will adhere to the lessons I've learned throughout this process going forward. I also want to make clear that I did not receive any support, financial or otherwise, from Hassan Piker. Hassan never even reached out to me privately to offer words of support. Speaking honestly,
what the fuck does that have to do with anything, right? Why did he make him, or why did he make her say that, right? Like, this is why you just, my God, dude, that shit is, this stuff is like hard to watch, right? Because this is straight up just like trying to humiliate and, oppress somebody. This is straight up like rapist mentality that Ethan has.
I found his indifference to my suffering hurtful, especially after he hinted he might help me behind the scenes. It felt like he wanted to receive credit from the public for helping me without providing any. As to the GoFundMe money, to the extent there are any remaining funds after I pay my attorney's fees, I have agreed to pay the remaining funds to the clients. The funds will not go to anyone else, including Denims or Frogan, to defend their lawsuits. For the record, I have agreed to cooperate with the clients in their litigation against the H3 Snark mods for promoting my live stream to the extent that I am able. I will offer my support, including testifying under oath to everything I have just stated, to help their cause. I also want to take the opportunity to acknowledge other misconduct and bad behavior I have exhibited online. For example, weaponizing the death of Asmongold's mother was inexcusable.
Why is she being forced to apologize for this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is too hard to watch. I hate this so much. But like, I don't know. Like, so I know that he sued Casey Tron. I know that he sued Noah Sampson here. So we'll watch this one too real quick.
I am getting sued by Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein, millionaire and host of the H3 podcast, has sued me for defamation. Here's the complaint. It's 31 pages, and I'm getting sued. About a year ago, I released this video, The YouTubers Who Backed the Genocide. And in response, Ethan Klein immediately began threatening to sue me. Then, a year
You'll also notice, by the way, there's no actual discussion, at least so far, from MoistCritikal about the actual underlying content, right? He hasn't talked about the issue, like he hasn't talked about Palestine or Israel at all, which is like the key underlying content as to why. The underlying factor as to why Ethan Klein is doing this. This is a core part of this entire story. Even the Idubbz stuff is related to that as well. And he hasn't mentioned it once, which is curious.
A year later, just 2 days before the statute of limitations was up, Klein filed his lawsuit. In the complaint, Klein alleges that I defamed him by falsely painting him as a supporter of the genocide of Palestinians. The complaint presents 6 allegedly defamatory statements, including the title and thumbnail of my video, and it makes several claims related to statements made about Israel, Palestine, atrocity propaganda, Nakba denialism, misinformation, and more. There's a lot of stuff in this thing. It's 31 pages. For now, all I can say about the lawsuit itself is that I think Ethan's claims are meritless and I intend to defend against them. But to do this, I need your help. A full length.
Okay. So, there's a whole lot of other lawsuits. I don't know which one MoistCritikal was particularly talking about, where someone posted it without any like commentary. I haven't seen that. He would have to be more specific about which video that is for me to know what he's talking about. So far, my understanding is that everybody who posted it added commentary, and it was all fair use. But anyway, let's go back just a little bit.
For Ethan, but I just don't think that's a win overall. Like, for as long as I've been on the internet, that kind of behavior has been frowned upon. And I really think if the targets were different, if it wasn't streamers that a lot of people don't like, the response would be very different to these lawsuits. Right now, a lot of people celebrate them because they just hate the people that Ethan is suing.
That's true.
So they go yeehaw for it. But these individuals, like the streamers in particular for fair use, they are a fraction of the size of Ethan. So it's to me, a hard case to make that he was genuinely like losing eyeballs because of them streaming it on their Twitch.
Also, it doesn't matter, right? Under fair use, if you make it transformative, you can steal as many views as you want, right? If you transform the content, you can steal as many views as you want. It doesn't matter. If you, make a video critiquing something and that video ends up blowing up even more than the original, it's not illegal. You're not stealing content from that person or whatever. That would be like ridiculous if that were the actual case, right? It's clear. Fair use is pretty clear about this sort of stuff. I don't know about Canada's fair use stuff or whatever, but I would have to assume that they have to allow for critique in Canada.
Channel. And yeah, that is like a big asshole thing for them to
By the way, Idubbz is from Canada. That's why I bring it up.
do. But let's be real, it's not hurting you. It's just you don't like them. And they don't like you. So this was a way of being able to get a big jab in there. And since a lot of the internet doesn't like them, they get to rally behind you as well, as opposed to start asking the question, why even bother? You already won, again, against that kind of behavior. The internet, from what I can tell, this is kind of post-mortem now since I'm super late to it, but from what I can tell, no one was really on the side of the streamers that were just blatantly streaming it without any kind of transformation or anything like that.
I still don't know who he's talking about. Who is he talking about? Like, I thought everybody gave commentary. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was somebody who didn't. I didn't watch all of these people's, I was not going to fucking watch the content nuke or the entire reactions to the content nuke. I'm sorry. It's too, it's like 4 fucking hours of bullshit. So like, I was never going to watch all of that. Sorry. But I still don't know who he's referring to. I would like him to be a little bit more specific personally.
So you already won. What's the point in continuing this further, paying big bucks to the lawyer just so you could also financially hurt them to further, get them? It seems like it's less about, fighting a just cause for fair use and more about like, here's some more ammunition.
It seems like it feels like this is wishy-washy language, and it's again why you get the criticism of being a fence sitter. You should just say morally it is wrong to do this. It is like, just come out and say it. It is morally wrong for Ethan Klein to weaponize his money in order to silence critics of his content, right? It is morally wrong. It is incredibly fucked up, and in a just world, like, he would be thrown in jail for this shit, right? Like, that would be a more assertive way of saying this, Charlie. This is, again, if you don't want to be accused of being a fence sitter, then just make real statements, make real judgments and real statements. That's how you can avoid that sort of critique. Now, a lot of people are not going to like you for making those sorts of critiques, because going on the side, advocating on the side of good is oftentimes a fruitless fruitless endeavor. If you want to be on the morally good and just side, you will likely be, persecuted. It will come at a cost. It will come at, people will make controversies about you. People will try to put you into they will try to harass you. They being on the side of moral good and just taking just positions and stuff is always a fruitless endeavor. So I'm not saying that you have to do it, but I am saying it's cowardice not to.
The big one that I've spent the most time looking into is the Idubbz case, because it's the most recent and is being touted as a tentative loss for
the most important fair use case of all time on the internet.
Ethan, which I don't know what a tentative loss really means, because it's not an official loss. It's still an ongoing lawsuit here. But the judge had like a very seemingly...
If you want to know more about the actual case itself against Denims, I would recommend going and watching Mike from PA's analysis of the original Denims case. It was very insightful. Because he is a former law school graduate, he can give a lot of information that most commentary people, including myself, would not be able to. The key thing to know about a tentative ruling is that it is the final verdict. It is essentially the final, what the judge says, this is how I am going to rule. You can come in and give me one last chance to complain, or like to try and see if I missed something, or like try to make an argument. You get one last chance, and then after that I'm going to make my judgment. So that's what a tentative ruling is. But like I said, go check out Mike from PA's video about it. It's very informative.
Stern view on it that even cited Ethan Klein's previous fair use victory against him in his suit against Denims. Ethan Klein, a while back, had a landmark achievement in the fight for fair use against good old bold guy Matt Haas, and that ruling was cited here against him in this fair use lawsuit. So to me, that illustrates that maybe these lawsuits aren't coming from a genuine place of trying to enforce real fair use, and are potentially just coming from a place of revenge. Now, I don't know the...
That are indicating to me, again, he's using all the wishy-washy language that he always does.
And are potentially just coming from a place of revenge.
Potentially.
Now, I don't know the intricacies of everyone that's being sued and their relationship to Ethan and the snark community. I don't know, but from everything I've seen in these lawsuits...
The snark community stuff is completely irrelevant. That's another thing I want to talk about a little more. I hope he gets into it. I can't remember everything he talked about in this video.
I just don't agree with going this extremely litigious path. There are very few lawsuits in this space that I think make sense. And like I said yesterday, the one that does is him going after the snarking community that allegedly did send a fraudulent CPS check to his house.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about a little bit more. There is literally no evidence that this happened, right? That somebody from Snark did this. Ethan Klein admitted that there was no evidence that this happened on his stream. So for instance, Denims, right? So what Charlie is kind of saying right here is that like there maybe Denims was involved in the Snark stuff, maybe that's what's happening. But maybe are those people who did the Snark, they are the ones who we should that might deserve a lawsuit. But like here's a video of Ethan Klein just being forced to do an on-air retraction because Denims sent a cease and desist for him defaming her. So let's watch this real quick.
Let me be clear. I have never claimed that Denims called CPS. I have never implied that Denims called CPS. Denims announces she's suing me for defamation. I hold her personally, I personally, in my opinion, hold her responsible for the CPS thing, which is obvious based on the call.
You see, this is see he was forced, but this beginning part was like where he's like forced straight up to do that retraction. What's the rest of this?
Probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention.
Bro, you were so smug. She did CPS. Remember that? Okay.
Yeah, he said she did CPS. Remember that? This was what he was forced to read.
Let me be clear. I have never claimed that Denims called CPS. I have never implied that Denims called CPS.
Okay, so there's that. Did I have another one? One second. No, I don't think so. I thought there was another one from he also admitted that he didn't know who called CPS on Hassan's debate with him or whatever as well. So there's that too. So I guess what I'm saying, Charlie, is there is literally no evidence that anybody from Snark sent CPS to his house. Okay, there is no evidence that anybody did that. There's currently no evidence that anyone from the Reddit like sent a skull to his house. There is no evidence. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible that those people were responsible, okay? But I'm just saying there's no evidence of it. It could have been anybody. It could have been anybody who did that. It could have been someone who knows them. It could have been a teacher. It could have been, it could have been his doctor, a primary care doctor. It could have been his maid, who he's currently suing as well. It could have been like maybe she was like disgruntled. She was fired for no reason or whatever. So maybe she was disgruntled and maybe she called him. Like I'm saying, there's just no reason that we should suspect that Ethan Klein is in any way he admitted that he doesn't know who did it, right? So why on earth are we even taking this at face value? That's stupid. That's a stupid thing to do. And like I said, maybe he might not be as tuned in about this. He might not know about it. But he's here making these declarative statements that it's like, well, maybe you should then. Maybe you should. If you want to engage in serious topics about serious things, then maybe you should know a little bit more about this.
And human skulls, which apparently is taboo to even mention now for some reason. I got fucking dogpiled for bringing that up, but from everything I've seen, that did happen, right? Like, I didn't hallucinate that or anything.
I mean, according to Ethan Klein, it happened. Yes. According to Ethan Klein, it happened. So, we have to take that with a grain of salt. But even if it did happen, we don't know who did it. And there's still no evidence that anybody, there's still no evidence. As far as I'm aware, there's no evidence at all that someone from Reddit did it. And Ethan Klein has retracted statements saying that someone from Reddit, someone from the Reddit snark communities or whatever did it. That's just you're just getting the basic understanding of this wrong. You shouldn't be making assumptions about that in the positive, in the affirmative for Ethan, unless you are trying to unless you are trying either subconsciously or consciously to give him more what's the word he used to operate in, I guess, good faith towards Ethan, right? He's giving, I think, more good faith to Ethan than Ethan has proven that he deserves personally. And obviously, like we saw what he does when he knows the internet hates the person, like Hassan. He operates in bad faith when he does that. It's like, if you want to talk about when you operate in good faith, when you operate in bad faith, there you go. So yeah, I'll just keep going.
So, that's a pretty fucking big deal. That's a pretty traumatizing thing. That is psychopath behavior. So, if the snarking community is responsible for that, then yeah, it makes sense to go that path because that is extremely unhinged. And that is something that should be pursued legally to stop that from ever happening again. But yeah.
I agree if it did. If it happened and if it was them, then sure. And if you want to launch an investigation into it, sure. Go for it.
I honestly am very surprised how many people were so quick to jump to the conclusion that I was avoiding this and lying about not knowing about it, and secretly championing for those lawsuits and that kind of thing. It's so upsetting because good faith is something that's just gone. It's completely flushed down the shitter. Anyone who would watch the video in good faith would be able to recognize, okay, maybe he is telling the truth and doesn't know about those lawsuits, which is why he hasn't included them there. I feel like that would be a normal thing to do, a courtesy to extend, considering I have always vocally advocated against this kind of extremely litigious path in online discourse and online communities. So why now is that no longer afforded the courtesy of, oh no, he definitely fell back on his principle?
Well, there's multiple reasons, but you're just known as a fence sitter, okay? There's that as well, and you're not known for being like morally courageous. Like, when you cover these things like this and you use all the wishy-washy language and you're apparently uninformed about a lot of this stuff, allegedly, I mean, again, I don't know if he actually knew about this behind the scenes or whatever, but you're also then uninformed about it. And then, this is like like I said, the Denims lawsuit is the biggest fair use lawsuit of of all time, and you claim to care about it, then it's like people, you send a lot of mixed messages when you do that. And you don't, and I like I said at the beginning, you don't have to be a serious person who covers serious topics if that's not what you want to do. You don't have to. Okay. In my opinion, Charlie, I would just say, like, you can just leave this one alone. This is probably too serious of a topic for you. Okay. It's probably too serious. You probably don't have the, the investigative prowess and journalistic ethics and moral courage to actually tackle this from a neutral perspective. Personally, that's my personal opinion.
He doesn't believe in that anymore here. But I guess, to be honest, good faith is kind of viewed as weakness online. People are far more interested in scalp, far more interested in the spectacle and as much shit slinging as possible. So if it's trying to approach things with a level head, you kind of get attacked by everybody because no one really wants that anymore. So like yesterday, I feel like I did a very good faith look at everything. And I spent 3 hours going through like the essentials of what was going on, learning about it from the ground up. And once I did that, then I dove into watching Idubbz stream where the lawsuit spawned from. I watched H3 stream, and I talked to them and continued to look deeper into it across the span of most of that day. And I approached it, I believe, in very good faith across the board. And in doing so, you will always earn that prestigious title.
Well, I don't understand how you didn't find the origins of this, though, right? Like I don't understand how you didn't find, the amount of harassment that Ethan was slinging at Idubbz beforehand. Idubbz, did his content cop. Did you watch that? Did you see like all of the stuff about Ethan, claiming that his wife's a whore and like all that stuff, like the incessant ungodly amount of Instagram posts that Ethan is posting 24/7, the amount of like the core underlying issue of Zionism and Ethan losing his audience because he's unable to stop himself from attacking any like Palestinian any person who is engaging in Palestinian advocacy. Like these are all things that I know primarily because I've just been like somewhat following the Ethan Klein drama slop, slow decline over the past like 5 years or so, right? Like I've been following it, so I kind of just know a lot of this stuff off the top of my head. I don't know how hard it would be to go and find all of this information if he truly was unaware of any of it at all. However, like, I don't know. I think that I could have, though. I think that if I was trying to take this all in good faith, as he says, I would have probably tried to, find more information about, the beef, the inciting incidents, and reported that, accurately and with courage, right? With courage. I would have said, well, it seems like this all kind of started around October 7th, is what I would have said. Since October 7th, Ethan has been on a tear. He has been suing every, pro-Palestine content creator and anybody who critiques his, descent into Zionist hysteria. And then I would then, starting from that point, then build up towards the Idubbz drama. I would talk about the back and forth between them, right? I would talk about Ethan Klein's constant calling his wife a slut and a whore. I would have, I would have put a lot of this stuff like into context before getting to the actual, and then I would have talked about Ethan Klein's beef with Destiny, temporary beef where Destiny made the claim, the actual offending statement that Destiny was claiming that Ethan Klein was a pedophile who molests his kids. I would have talked more about that, where that came from. And then I would have eventually gotten to the actual lawsuit against Idubbz in the context of all of the other lawsuits that Ethan Klein was ongoing, right? That's how I would have personally covered it if I was going to do this story. Like, and honestly, you can kind of see that already in the fact that I tried to kind of do that as a part of covering this story right now that I'm covering. So like, this is where I'm like, you are neglecting to do all of this stuff. You are neglecting to find all of the information. You are neglecting to show it. You are neglecting to show the whole story. And you are equivocating between morally evil and morally good, right? Ethan is morally evil in this particular circumstance. He is the bad guy. And Idubbz is the victim of that evil. He is on the side of good in this particular circumstance. You don't even have to like him in general to understand this dynamic. So you should have then, in my opinion, you should have reached that conclusion. It should be obvious to anybody with half a brain who does research on this. If I did research on this for a full day, and I did not somehow come out thinking that Ethan Klein is a piece of shit who deserves to go to fucking jail for all this, like, all of the pain and suffering that he is causing others, or at the very least, like, all of his wealth seized and distributed to all of his fucking victims, like, then I don't know. Like, I can't comprehend a world where I would not come out to that conclusion and then state those opinions clearly as I possibly can, given my nature of not being able to be very succinct and clear to the internet. So I don't know, man. I don't know. This is what I'm saying. There's an issue here in how he does his coverage. And if he's not capable of doing the actual coverage in a, morally clear and courageous way, then is it even like beneficial for him to do the coverage at all? I don't know. These are the questions. These are the questions of our time.
Across the span of most of that day. And I approached it, I believe, in very good faith across the board. And in doing so, you will always earn that prestigious title of fence sitter. If you're not extreme on either side of the drama, you are fence sitting it. No. You are a fence sitter when there is a clear morally good and clear morally bad, and you decide to be in the center, right? In the same way that, like, okay, I try to bring it back to politics because this is something that I cover a lot, right? If you have a group that is the Nazis, right? You have the Nazis, and then you have the anti-fascist, right? Like the anti-Nazis, the people who are against the Nazis. And you say, well, I did my research and I decided to, I think that I'm not going to take a side. I'm just going to say they both have their points. One of them is fascist. One of them is anti-fascist. I'm just going to place myself right in the middle, right? Then you are being a coward. Like, that is cowardly. There is one that is clearly morally good and one that is clearly morally bad. And you should be able to come to that conclusion if you have the mental faculties to analyze this, right? If you're not a dum-dum, you should be able to come to a conclusion here. The only other explanation is that you are being a coward and a fence sitter. If these two things were morally gray, then yes, you can have an opinion in the center. That's perfectly fine. Okay. If there's also no moral consequence to it or political consequence to it, then that's also fine as well. I don't really care. But I do hate this idea that we have to equivocate between evil and good and be like, well, it must be somewhere in the middle between evil and good. No, it's good. It's good. The side of good is right. The side of evil is wrong. Yeah, and there is cowardice in not making that assessment and not coming to that assessment unless, like I said, you're an idiot and not able to make that assessment. Which I think it's a term that's really lost all its luster, because in that video, I think it's a pretty strong stance. I don't agree with Ethan's defamation lawsuit, and I spend 36 minutes yapping about all of my reasons why. And boy howdy, I repeated myself multiple times.
And that's true. That's true. He did come out on the side of good, but he didn't, he didn't, I guess what I would say is this. he very much both sized it the entire time. He did. I watched the video. He did. He both sized it the entire time. He equated the victim and the victimizer, the victim being Idubbz, the victimizer being Ethan. And he victim blamed Idubbz a lot, even for just engaging in his free speech rights, and saying that it was, that he probably shouldn't have done it or whatever, which is like a, moral characterization. And if you want to say that, I guess whatever. But and it's just he I'm trying to think. The biggest problem, I think, is that he hasn't covered the other stuff until now, and he didn't look into it hard enough. And maybe that's just, like I said, maybe that's just laziness. But there is no equating these two things, and I think that he wasn't being very clear then. If that was his opinion. He was, I guess, he did end up on the side that it's, wrong to do so, but he threw so many caveats and stuff so that he could not be offensive to people. And maybe that's what people were annoyed by, generally speaking.
I watched it back and I literally made the same point like 3 times by accident. Like I said, I do most of these in only a handful of takes, so sometimes I lose track of what I've already said. So like, I really did make it very clear what my stance is, that this is not something that gets 2 big thumbs up from me. But because I also mentioned that Idubbz stream was a very poorly handled one that I think used a disgusting comment to try and illustrate his point, in that it was a very painful stream to sit through, because I mentioned that, people are accusing me of both sidesing it. You were shitting on Idubbz for most of the video, actually, which I don't know how you walk away with that impression. Idubbz himself will also tell you that that was a bad stream, and he is regretful of it. He has publicly come out, apologized for it, and said that that was bad, and that it was too far.
He didn't need to do that, but sure, if he wants to, go for it.
But me giving my perspective that, yeah, it was pretty torturous to sit through is apparently, a big no-no. Now, I'm going to go ahead and repeat myself again before getting into the next stuff I want to talk about, because again, a lot of the drama from this isn't even about my take on it. It's about clips of my take on it without even giving why I think that. So I want it really front and center so that there can be no confusion why I disagree with this defamation lawsuit. So to do that, let's take it from the top, from the start. What started this defamation lawsuit?
It's okay. So I do want to say I don't agree with what's being said in this comment here, but I'm putting it on screen because I think it should be addressed, because it's a big, bold accusation that's very fucked up.
That comment?
Yeah. Boom. Case closed. Not defamation. He said he didn't say it. He doesn't agree with it. That's case closed. There is no defamation for what he is doing.
He is showing was not made by him. He then goes on to explain what he's actually trying to accomplish by having that comment on his stream for so long as a watermark.
Also, I will say that I think Ethan Klein is terrified of this guy. So it's just kind of like legit. It is to me, it's super funny that he has so much smoke for everyone that he thinks he can bully, but the person...
I guess maybe the problem is that MoistCritikal is saying that like he's making a moral assessment, right, of whether this was a good thing for Idubbz to do. All right, that it was maybe not a good thing. I guess Idubbz has come out and said that that he regrets doing this or whatever. And I don't really care about that moral assessment. That's irrelevant to the case, right? That's irrelevant to any of this. You shouldn't, like, if you want to make that moral argument, that's fine. But it's way worse, like morally way worse for Ethan Klein to, launch all of these frivolous lawsuits in order to silence his opponents and to try to bleed them of money. That is clearly more evil, right? Like, as opposed to, boosting or not even really boosting, but like making a point that Destiny said this, like, which is what he's doing. He's making a point. He is commentating, and the fact that he is making a point that Destiny said this, and Ethan Klein is not doing anything about it. And his point was correct too. His point was correct because Ethan Klein still has not done anything to Destiny and has gone after Idubbz instead.
That he's fucking terrified. He just keeps very overtly running from, and it's like, yeah.
I think he made this point pretty dog shittily and used a very gross comment for it.
Why was it made dog shittily though? It's a good point. It's a perfect point. He made the right point. It was correct. It was 100% correct. Like it was like, I don't understand. And we don't even have to moralize about this. Like I don't see the point of moralizing about this, unless the only point that I see to actually moralizing about this, like, assessment that he shouldn't have done this, is to take some flack off of yourself for defending Idubbz.
Which is what I said yesterday, and I still stand by that, and I said it to Idubbz as well. The point that he is making by showing this comment on his stream is, look at what Destiny can say and get away with without Ethan's wrath, yet he has smoke for so many other people. Destiny has said something unthinkably heinous, and Ethan isn't going after him, he's going after other people. He must be afraid of him. That is his point with showing that. Ethan has gone on to say that...
And he made that point perfectly. It was a perfect point, and it was proven correct. Proven correct and a perfect point.
This is significantly more malicious from Idubbz than Destiny, because Destiny said it in passing, and, he was just being a dickhead and disavowed it. But Idubbz isn't saying it, and he even openly states, without any guesswork, without any riddles, and without any sarcasm, that he doesn't agree with it, that he doesn't believe it. He is not presenting it as true. But Ethan is saying it's more malicious because Idubbz, did meet his family, meet his kids, and now he has that comment on his stream. And I agree, that is filthy, and it is very low, which is why I'm saying it wasn't a good stream from Idubbz. It just wasn't, and it's something he admits as well. But at no point in that stream that I sat through did Idubbz ever try and make the argument that Destiny's comment reflects the truth or is real in any way. He openly says he doesn't agree with it. He is using it to make a point, and he doesn't do a great job of expressing that point super clearly. But what he does express clearly, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is that he doesn't agree with the comment. So it just doesn't make sense to me why Ethan is super willing to say, like, that didn't mean anything coming from Destiny, but Idubbz having it on his stream means malicious intent and that it's lending an air of credibility to it. I just disagree because he's never putting credibility into it. Him sarcastically saying that...
Yeah, this is all accurate analysis, and maybe analysis that should have been in the first video, to be honest.
This is a serious allegation that he should really look at, is him making the point that, why are you ignoring something this gross from Destiny, but going so hard on others for much less? And in Ethan's statement, like I pointed out, he does outright say that he had a much better chance of winning against Idubbz in Canada because of their laws there being very different than the laws here in the US. So he didn't believe he could act.
He'll still lose over there, but it's not about winning or losing for Ethan. It's about punishing. He wants to punish people who critique him. Like, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to punish people. He doesn't give a shit if he wins or loses. And if you were analyzing this seriously, Charlie, you would have been able to understand that. You would have been able to come to that conclusion that he does not actually care about winning these lawsuits, that he doesn't actually believe he has any standing for these lawsuits. I know that you're taking his words at face value, but even that is giving him too much credit. And yeah, it's just you're just the reason that maybe the reason that people think that you're fence sitting is because you're just not informed enough about this topic to make real analysis. Because anybody who did become informed enough on this topic, like I would consider myself relatively informed on it, would come to the obvious conclusion that Ethan Klein is an evil piece of shit, and all of these lawsuits aren't to win, like that he doesn't actually believe there's any merit to them, but he is just solely trying to punish his enemies, especially those who are like significantly smaller than him and will have a harder time, affording their legal fees.
actually win against Destiny in the US, but felt he could against Idubbz in Canada. So to me, that feels like trying to capitalize off lax free speech laws in Canada to get revenge, and using this as a convenient excuse of exacting that revenge and punishing him further for associating with snarkers, as opposed to actually pursuing a real defamation case. Because if it's a defamation case you're only willing to pursue in Canada and not here in the States, then to me it doesn't feel like a defamation case worth pursuing. And people were upset at me for saying that, but I just truly believe that free speech, laws around speech in general, should be very protected, and I feel like the US does a pretty strong job compared to other countries, and I think that should be extended to every country on the planet, to have laws that are strong to protect real free speech. And like I said,
to extend this a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation really quick, you know, this is gonna keep getting worse, by the way, as we enter into like further down you know, the hellscape that is late stage capitalism. The people with more power will continue to you know, the people with more power and more money will continue to you know, litigate in this manner. If you allow people to accumulate this much wealth and this much power, then they are going to continue to bully as much as they possibly can using the legal system, unless there is severe punishments for it. I.e., like I said, seize all of Ethan Klein's wealth and distribute it to the people he is bullying. Like, that is what should happen if you want this sort of shit to stop. If he does this multiple times, like, and loses multiple times. I know there's like what, vexatious litigant or whatever. Let's see what the punishment for that is. Vexatious litigation. Vexatious litigation is a legal proceeding that starts with malice and without good cause. Vexatious litigation is meant to bother, embarrass, or cause legal expenses to the defendant. A plaintiff who starts such litigation either knows or should reasonably know that no legal basis for the lawsuit exists. To obtain a remedy for vexatious litigation, the injured party often files a claim for malicious prosecution. Slap lawsuits are a type of vexatious litigation. A well-known example of a slap lawsuit is when Oprah Winfrey was sued by cattle farmers for libel against burgers after saying she wouldn't eat another hamburger on television segment on mad cow disease. So I think that this happens after, you know, multiple failures of a lawsuit by a person. However, I don't think the punishment is severe enough to stop Ethan Klein. Like I said, there needs to be real severe punishments for doing this if we want to stop it. And like I said, it's going to get worse as there's more wealth in fewer hands. This is going to happen all the time from people who can afford it.
Countries, and I think that should be extended to every country on the planet, to have laws that are strong to protect real free speech. And like I said, if Idubbz was going around saying that the Destiny comment was accurate, it was true, and promoting it as a legitimate claim that he believed in, and used his previous friendship with Ethan as this place of credibility to try and convince his argument that this is a claim that has really got some merit to it, some real oomph, then I would completely agree. That wouldn't be free speech, and that wouldn't be protected in the US either, by the way. So in that case, I would get that. If he was going around knowingly
that's 100% true. That would be defamation. But he didn't do that. So who cares?
this fraudulent, disgusting allegation and promoting it as though it were true, then yeah, that would be a defamation case that I would understand. But that's just not the truth of what happened in that stream. I am still just not a fan of extremely litigious avenues for handling the online space. I don't think there's ever any winners in it at all, except for, of course, the fucking lawyers that are salivating. And yes, I do believe this sets a bad example that can open a big can of worms in the online space. Not just with commentary YouTubers, by the way, just in general. People were upset about stifling voices, but didn't bother to hear the entire take. The reason why I think something like this could stifle voices is because if this does become commonplace, where people learn from this example that going through litigation to handle issues is the proper channel, people will be less willing to cover controversial stories. Like,
yeah, none of this, I don't disagree with any of this portion. and I'll let him. I'll probably just finish up the video because I'm so close. But I don't really have a ton to say about this part. I completely agree. And you know, if he covered it all, if he covered this entire thing, as he did from like the 20-minute mark on, in the first video, I don't think I would have had as much of a problem with it, to be honest.
For example, when you make a video calling out like a potential scam, you are taking a very real risk. And in the case of this, who's to say that company that may or may not be scamming sees that and just immediately goes this path, shutting it down? You are showing this customer's perspective, and it's hurting our brand. It's defamatory. We are coming after you with litigation.
And also, we're seeing this right now with Reckless Ben. He's unable to, like, they implemented like a legal order to force him to not make any more content covering bricks and minifigs because they are like suing him, right? In the exact same way, he is, you know, he has a legal right to report on this sort of stuff, to give people the information that they need in order to come to conclusions. That is, you know, First Amendment protected speech, and he is being stifled because a company with more power and more money is suing him. And we'll see a lot more of this in the future. Don't get it twisted, people. This is systemic, and it's going to get worse.
It would be, I believe, an issue that could be wide-reaching, and other YouTubers that are, you know, in a beef with each other, maybe they do the same thing, like, you said this about me, or you posted a screenshot of a tweet that was slanderous about me, so now I'm coming after you legally. And then it just becomes a big problem. Like, take for like, I'll use a commentary example because I think that's the one people are very focused on. You remember the whole Mr. Beast and Dog Pack thing? Well, that was perhaps the biggest payday for tons of commentary channels that latched onto that bosom hard. Tons and tons and tons of videos were being churned out daily covering that situation there. And fast forward a length of time, turns out a lot of the allegations were either misleading or just outright false and incorrect. So should Mr. Beast then turn around and issue a lawsuit to every commentary channel that was covering that saga and siding with Dogpack and promoting the Dogpack allegations as truth and putting them forward as legitimate and real? I don't think so. I don't think that would be a good thing, but he realistically probably does have a pretty strong-ish case he could build for defamation lawsuits against a lot of channels that were actively preaching Dogpack's allegations as gospel. Titles and thumbnails talking about how he's a fraud and a scammer based on the Dogpack allegations, many of which turned out to be incorrect, but they were still promoting them as the truth. So should Mr. Beast issue defamation lawsuits to all those commentary channels? And should this end in a victory here and have a favorable ruling in the books for this defamation case? Well, then Mr. Beast could point to, look at that, he won here already. We can use that. I'm not saying that would happen, but maybe it could. It's, again, probably just not best to just have...
It would definitely do it, like, eventually. And I'm also, like, I'm curious, like, what these people, like, let's say, okay, let's say it wasn't Ethan Klein, right? Let's say it wasn't Ethan Klein suing Denims. And let's say it was Hassan. Let's say it was Hassan suing, I don't know, some like smaller creator, some like smaller slop tuber, right? A slop tuber that defames, like, because people defame Hassan all the time, and he's just not a litigious or whatever person, right? He doesn't do that, or he doesn't really believe in that as a good strategy to combating this sort of stuff, right? But let's say that he did this, right? He decided to go after a smaller creator for like not defaming him, I guess, but for a similar sort of circumstance where they're just commentating on someone else defaming him. Let's say let's just make it the exact same. Let's say Destiny defames Hassan all the time. Let's say a smaller creator was took Destiny's words and was commentating on it about Hassan and was being, says that I don't necessarily agree with this, but here it is. And then let's say Hassan decided to sue that person. What do you think the commentary sphere would look like after that? Like, be truthful with yourself. How do you think this would go from Charlie's perspective? Would Charlie cover it on day one like he did with Kayagate, or would he wait a year for the lawsuit result to come back as inevitably baseless and fair use protected? Right? How do you think it would have gone? And be truthful with yourself, because 100% these people would have covered it day one. day one. There's no doubt in my mind. The entire internet would be up in arms. Charlie would be commentating on it day one. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And this is where you get into the very, the general concept of biased coverage, like what you choose to cover, informing your bias, right? Or like putting out biased content based on that, but based on what you choose to cover. And if you're not even willing to acknowledge that you do that, right? like those two circumstances, I would like to see Charlie's response to that. If he would cover that day one, or if he would wait a year like he did with the H3 versus Denims lawsuit. Because I think that if he was honest with himself, he knows he would cover it day one. And that's sort of like choosing what to do and choosing what to cover and what not to cover has real implications, right? It does. It is a moral decision that you are making, assuming that you know about it, which, okay. But it is a moral decision that you're making, because we've seen the impact of this when it comes to like the New York Times, when it comes to covering Palestine, right? Covering what's going on there, covering the atrocities that are being committed, or the lack of coverage of the atrocities being committed. And we see what the impact is on people just kind of like, forgetting about it or not really paying attention about it, but then they will focus super hard on anytime Hamas kills a Palestinian, or anytime Hamas, on October 7th does something, right? They will focus on that super hard. And like, you can see the impact of that bias coverage in what people are allowed to get away with in terms of like, real world politics and real world implications. And so, like I said, not everybody has to be very, I don't know, like, has to be a serious person doing commentary on serious subjects, right? But if you do, I would prefer if you, come to it from a like real perspective and, do it in at least a competent way, that you're, that it doesn't look like obviously biased, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. There is like an inherent bias in what he chooses to cover, in my particular opinion, how quickly he chooses to cover it. That part I do think probably exists. And I think that it does have an impact, and that maybe he should, consider that when he's making these decisions.
Have that ammunition as a possibility. Now, at the end of the day, that's just one Cro-Magnon's perspective on it. And it is completely fine to disagree with it, even healthy. What's not healthy is this trend where people don't even watch the video and only engage through select Twitter clips in order to get outraged at and form their whole opinion.
That's just clip culture. And, if you want to complain about that, like, then, yeah, there's entire systems created around, manufacturing clips for outrage farming and stuff. Like, that's an entire industry, and most of the time it's just it's done primarily, I think, by right-wingers clipping Hassan and shit out of context. Like, that's where I think a lot of this like clip industrial complex comes from.
Around the video they didn't watch from.
Or clip culture.
I don't want to just dive into some unhinged takes, but this one actually tilted me, and for some reason I saw this quite a bit. He spoke with Ethan Klein, but not Idubbz. Pathetic. Like Maximilian Pegasus here. Pathetic, Yugi. If only they watched the video. Because I didn't just speak to Ethan Klein.
Or at least
I
most
also
of it.
spoke with Idubbz.
I
And
watched
it's right
here.
there in the very beginning of the video. Like, it's early in the video. Now, I did also have a brief conversation with Idubbz about this as well. I mean, what can you do? I did say I talked with both of them about it. And yet people are still saying I only heard one side of the story. I mean, really, what can you do? Like, actually, what can you do? It's just, it's incorrect, but you're making whole arguments around this dream you had that didn't actually happen because you didn't watch the video. You just already had a preconceived image.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's pointless to even care about this from Charlie's perspective. Like, who cares? The clip the clip industrial complex is going to do what it's going to do. Unless there's going to be a systematic fix to this problem, then what's even the point of complaining about it? And also, if you're going to, like I said, selectively complain about it when it's about like this, but maybe not about other people, then it's like you don't have that much of a leg to stand on. I just don't really care that much, though.
Image of me that you want to ensure stays intact, so that way you can continue to not like me. And that's fine. You can not like me. You don't. Not everyone likes the fun-sized Florida man over here. That's completely fine. Absolutely. But can you at least be right about something that you're not liking me for? Just watch the video first. I just realized I have been yapping for almost 30 minutes, and I already know without even a semblance, not even an iota of doubt, that almost nobody is watching to this point. They've already formed their opinion even before clicking the video or within the first couple of minutes to start fighting on different points.
I've been forming my opinion slowly throughout this entire video.
There's no reason to keep going down there. Like, it does feel useless to even like engage with a lot of online discourse. It does just feel useless because it doesn't even matter what the take is. People don't even really care about the take per se. It's just they already have an opinion of you, and no matter what, it's not changing. Sometimes they don't even bother to watch the video to try and shit on you for something that they think you might have said in the video, or they saw like a tweet that references the video, and that's good enough for them to shit on you for that, even if it's entirely wrong. So like, it is not very productive. Anyway, though, just wanted to yap.
Okay.
That's about it.
Well, there you go. He's right. It is not very productive, but I'm trying to make something productive come out of this unproductiveness. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of things going on here. There's, in my opinion, manufactured incompetence. This is a problem all the time when it comes to people who want to avoid controversy, right? They pretend like they don't know things. They pretend like they aren't aware of things in order to try to stay neutral, to stay, in the good graces of the algorithm, and to not get the hate and backlash that comes with taking a morally just position, right? So there's that. I do think that he partakes in that, whether consciously or subconsciously. I do think he partakes in that by deciding what to cover. My argument for that is straight up just because he will cover things immediately, like when it comes to things like Kaya Gate or whatever, right? And then when it comes to something that which is something that like he, I don't know, doesn't allege to really like be like a, I don't know. Maybe he cares about animal rights. I really don't know. But then when it comes to something that he allegedly does care about, like fair use protection on the internet, the most important lawsuit of all time regarding that is Denham's lawsuit against Ethan Klein right now, or like Ethan Klein's lawsuit against Denham. Sorry. And he doesn't cover that at all. Now, whether that's because nobody in his community put that in front of him, nobody online put that in front of him, he never happened upon it, or if he did happen upon it, he didn't see it. Like, maybe that's possible. I believe that he probably knew about it and did not want to cover it. That's my personal opinion. I do believe that. And there's lots of people who do this, lots of people who know about things like that lawsuit and don't want to cover it because they're worried that it's going to be controversial and get them in controversy, and they just don't want to bother with that. And I mean, to some extent, like I said at the beginning, that's fine. That is fine. If you do not want to cover it because you are you don't want to accept that controversy that is inevitably going to come from it, that is fine. Because it, like I said, that would be moral cowardice, and we all engage in moral cowardice occasionally. And so, you know, I think that is probably, you know, perfectly fine to do if he wants to avoid talking about subjects like that. You know, because he's scared of the controversy. But I also reserve my right to call him a coward for doing so. You know, that like, it's a two-way street. If you are going to engage in moral cowardice when it comes to discussing issues that require moral clarity and moral courage, then I also get to complain about it and be like, yeah, you're being a coward, and that's fine. Just, you know, I get to say that, and I wouldn't, you know, if you want to get mad at me, go for it. But like, whatever, right? So there's that. There's selective coverage, selective bias of when he decides to cover these things. Number two, there is incompetence. I don't particularly think that Charlie is that smart of a person. No offense to Charlie. I'm also not the smartest person in the world. I don't know everything, right? But I do consider, I do try to, when I do my analysis of things, I am trying to the best of my ability to, you know, research, or like if I was going to cover this stuff like I'm covering it today, like I do try my best to research it, pull things up, and understand the full, you know, the full context of stuff. If I don't, especially if I don't already have that base knowledge just in my head, I try to look it up before I start talking about it. And I make mistakes too. I make mistakes. Sometimes I say something that I think I remember, but it's not quite remembered right, and it applies to something else or whatever, right? Like I make mistakes as well. But I mean, I would say that I generally think that, like, you know, the way that I cover things is a little bit more competent in terms of coming to these conclusions. Like I said before, he needs to analyze this lawsuit, like both in the context of all of the other lawsuits that Ethan Klein is doing and the long-term interactions between that Ethan Klein has, like making disgusting comments about Idubbz and his wife or girlfriend, I can't remember. And then also historically contextualize it with Israel-Palestine as being the catalyst for all of this. These are all incredibly important factors to understanding this. And he did not do that. So that I just have to boil down to general incompetence, right? Or again, selective coverage. It's one or the other. It's incompetence or selective coverage. He doesn't want to talk about Israel-Palestine, or he doesn't want to talk about, you know, the long history of Ethan Klein's, you know, like verbal abuses or like lawsuits or whatever, right? Towards Palestinian, like pro-Palestine advocates or whatever, right? Like it's one or the other. Let's see. Was there anything else that I feel like we can come away with here? We talked a little bit about, you know, like centrism, like what's it called? Like having a ideological just commitment to being in the center, using wishy-washy language a lot, not making moral, you know, not making taking strong moral stances. And like I always, like I tell people that it does take some level of courage to come out and just say like something is morally wrong and shouldn't happen. I mean, look at what happened to like Miss Rachel is a perfect example, right? Of a person who is just like the most morally good person in the world, who just wants to help children and decided to advocate in some way for the Palestinian children. And look at how she was attacked, and look at how she was smeared, right? By the powerful, by the elite. Anytime you come out openly on the side of like moral clarity and moral, like being morally courageous, there is going to be structural attacks. There's going to be, you know, generalized propagandized like reactionaryism, and like especially on the internet, like are going to attack you. And that's just, and also it obviously depends on the political circumstances of the time that you're living through, like the current Trump era. And so, you know, a lot of people, they will take all of those things into consideration when they're deciding whether to make a statement, or like make a just statement or not. And I think that we should ideally encourage people to take more morally brave stances personally. Now, obviously, you're not going to be getting 1.8 million views on a video if you're like taking morally brave stances all the time. Like, it's just not going to happen. So then there's also like the profit incentive, right? The profit incentive of never taking a moral position, or never taking a like, I guess I wouldn't say that, because he did take a position. He did say that it was wrong, and that he like agreed that it was wrong, but he didn't I guess do it. He did do a lot of victim blaming in the process, right? The way that, like, in my opinion, it should be covered is that who cares what Idubbz put on the screen, right? Who cares? It's irrelevant. He didn't say it. And so it is an unjust lawsuit, and it's unfair. And the evilness of the lawsuit, the moral evilness of that, is significantly worse than the, you know, potential. And I wouldn't even say there was anything morally wrong for what Idubbz did, but the potentially moral wrongness of posting a comment from Destiny to make a point. We should be making that point about Ethan Klein. Personally, I believe it is important to make that point. That point should be known far and wide. I don't see any moral wrongness from him doing that. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a difference in opinion. But anyway, those are kind of like all of my like, I guess all of my thoughts regarding the matter. I just kind of wanted to try something a little bit new today. Discuss this this topic in a little bit more depth, and you know, I think that we did an okay job. I tried my best, at least. I feel like sometimes I maybe like repeat myself a little too much, but or pause too much. I'm trying to get better about that, but I'm still kind of new to this, so you know, it is what it is. Let's see. I got like maybe 20 more minutes before I got to go do something. So, let's see. Is there anything that I want to talk about? Is there anything in the news? I don't really want to read any articles right now. I was thinking about doing some gaming, but since I only have 20 minutes, I'm like, what's the point? Let's just go. Let's just move this down here. I'm just going to close out of this group now. Okay. Let's see. Maybe that Kennedy Center stuff. We could have a little fun with that real quick. One second. Let me go to, let's go over here. Let's go to the news, and let's see if they have any videos about that. Maybe I can commentate on that. I would like one more in the 5-minute range. Like this one, maybe. But that doesn't, I don't know if there's coverage on it. I would probably want something with coverage. Unless they have closed captions. No. Let's just go with this one. We'll go with CNN. I might not be able to watch the whole thing. But okay, let's talk about this real quick. This will just be a little fun one after that long ass content about Charlie, moral courage, moral clarity, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about this. So, for those unaware, a judge had ruled at one point that Trump is not allowed to put his name on the Kennedy Center. And so I think that now that ruling has been established, the enforcement of that ruling is happening, and people are removing his name from the Kennedy Center. So let's go and watch this CNN video. It looks like they might have some discussion about it too, and I will see if I can give, we can get some insights on how the Clinton News Network is feeling about this shit.
President Trump's name is coming down from the Kennedy Center building. A judge has rejected the center's last-minute request to freeze a previous judge's ruling while the court proceedings play out. The court didn't elaborate on that decision, and they have until midnight tonight to restore the original name. Now, you'll remember back in December, a Trump-approved board of trustees voted to change the name in order to honor him. CNN Washington correspondent Sunlen Sarfati is on the scene. Sunlen, what is happening? Is there still a crowd out there waiting for this to happen?
Yeah, Abby, it's a rather extraordinary scene outside the Kennedy Center at 10 p.m. on a Friday evening. What this moment is really emblematic of the political divide, frankly, that exists in Washington.
As soon as he's gone, man, brick by brick, we are taking down all of this shit. We will destroy the ballroom. We will recreate, or we will remove his name from everything. We will tear down whatever Triomphe de Arc or whatever. We need just a righteous mob. That's what we need. We need more righteous mobs in America. A righteous mob to go and tear all this shit down. Preferably, I would just say the next president, just undo all this shit. Take his name off of fucking everything. Make sure that everything in the history books remembers him as the worst president of all time. That's my personal opinion.
Washington right now.
Because that's what he is. He is the worst president of all time. Let's be completely real.
As you can see behind me, you have a crew of about 13 people. They are bar by bar constructing this large scaffolding, and they're going to build this so that they can reach the words Donald Trump to remove his name from the Kennedy Center. And just off screen here at the angle you can't see fully, but there are hundreds of people here in D.C. who have come out to witness this moment. Now, with every foot that they build this scaffolding, we've heard chants of take it down.
It looks funny that like it's so much smaller and like less bold, I feel like, than the actual stuff, that it obviously just looks like it was tacked on after the fact. So that's kind of funny too, but yeah, it shouldn't be there. That's for sure. It doesn't even look good, right?
Down, take it down. Clearly, many of the people out here coming today to witness in support.
Also, the Donald Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. Like, what? It shouldn't be and the. Like, this is so clearly like Trump just like tacking something on and not doing the actual work or whatever to like, because he should have removed the here. It should be the Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts, or like, like that would have been like the right way to phrase this. This isn't even phrased correctly.
Of that name coming down. And there was a last-ditch effort on the part of the Kennedy Center today in the courts to try to get the name to remain on the building, but that was denied by a federal judge, reinforcing that President Trump's Kennedy Center needed to take the name off the wall. And there you see people cheering as the workers are climbing.
Hey, this will unite America, I think, eventually, man. The economy is getting so bad. Everybody fucking hates Trump. He's the most hated president of all time. So this type of shit, brick by brick, removing his name from everything, this is what is going to unite America, I believe.
I mean, up the scaffolding, again, adding to it. So again, the federal judge making sure that the Kennedy Center would take down this name by midnight tonight. So now it really is a race against the clock. And notably, Abby, as you know,
it's reverse as usual. The construction workers are getting catcalls right now. It's the opposite.
Washington, just a wild moment that this late on a Friday night, this many people are out here. This name on the side of this building has been symbolic for so much. President Trump's reach in Washington, his attempt at making a stamp and remake cultural institutions like the Kennedy Center. So we'll be here watching certainly a significant moment. Abby.
Wow, what a sign of the times, Sunlen. We'll keep keeping an eye on that scene tonight as we see what happens to those letters. Just about 2 hours left before they have to comply with this ruling. But back here in New York, it is pretty extraordinary. I had to chuckle because I was reading the court filing by DOJ as they tried to convince the court to allow them to keep the name up. And they changed the bylaws of the Kennedy Center to basically say that any money that they received while that name was up there was contingent on Donald Trump's name being on the Kennedy Center, which is a living memorial to the former president. And the court filing says the reason for this clause is that people and companies who have given or will be giving millions of dollars to the center were only willing to do so with the name Trump on the building. Many did it because they loved the concept of two great presidents, one Republican, one Democrat, working together as one, in many ways, a bipartisan relationship, exclamation point. Not sure if Donald Trump has started working at the Justice Department. But yeah, I mean, it's almost comical if it didn't actually happen.
So I'm going to just be a lawyer for a second. The reason why this is a great moment in history, what's going on, that his name is coming down, is that the judiciary has no real power to make sure people do what they say. So right now, President Trump can say, no, nothing's coming down. And the judge has nothing. The judge doesn't have an army. The judge doesn't have any power to do anything. So this is our government actually working. When the judiciary uses the power of a pen, nothing more than the power of a pen saying, no, you can't.
I mean, partially, yes. Trump isn't so far completely disregarding court orders, generally speaking. He is breaking the law constantly, though, and he's not being held accountable for that. But yeah, I mean, he so far has been hesitant to just like blatantly disregard like official court orders. You know, and eventually he might start doing that. Who knows? I'm just like, but like this is, I think this gives me copium vibes. Like, you know, they're trying to say the institutions are fine. The institutions are working. See, everybody, the institutions are working. So what are you complaining about? It's like, well, there's still a lot of shit wrong with the institutions, even this regard. And also, I also don't I also don't personally believe in what's it called, judicial review that much, like really, in terms of like you know, courts can overrule like I don't, maybe with like you know, executive orders and stuff, maybe it makes sense, but I fundamentally don't believe that courts should be able to overrule the will of the people through the representative body of Congress, in my personal opinion. So I guess that's a separate topic though, because this I think was done by executive decree, and so it's a little bit different.
Can't do this, and everyone is following the judge's order. That's a great American moment, that the government is working. The three branches of government are working the way they're supposed to.
I actually agree with him, but I also think that when you look at...
It's okay, you're allowed to. You said it like, holy cow, I actually agree with you. You're allowed to agree with me.
It's 10:06. I just got started.
Okay,
yes. I didn't even get a complete sentence out. I love you.
It was the tone. It was the tone.
Yes, I agree with you. You're right 3 or 4% of the time. You're not going to agree with this part. What I was going to say is I believe this is just indicative of what the Trump presidency will be. You have an individual who has what most people would agree to have a heavy dose of psychopathy that is rooted in some sense of self that is not necessarily rooted in anything. So he wants his name on buildings.
Yeah, he's a narcissist.
Wants his picture on dollar bills. He wants those type of things. And when Donald Trump is gone, I do believe that many of the things that he deems to be accomplishments, those superficial things, without changing the lives for the better of the American people, will come down and will be erased. And so this is going to be the first, although this is something that individuals...
I mean, I think that's almost inevitable. Like I said, he's the most hated politician of all time, I think. Like, let me see. The least liked politician, or least liked president of all time. Okay. Let's see. Here's a graph, I guess. So what? Very favorable, somewhat unfavorable, very unfavorable. Richard Nixon, I knew was the high or the lowest. Donald Trump is slightly less, right? Slightly less total. So he's the second most hated. But this seems out of date though. What, 47 plus 7? That's 54% unfavorable. Like Donald Trump's approval rating, lowest approval rating of president of all time. Okay, Harry Truman has the lowest of all time at 22%. So Trump isn't he isn't that low, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Or like as low, maybe, but those were individual moments. I'm curious about like legacy wise, what Trump favorability in the long run will be, because individual approval ratings, you know, those can like ebb and flow and stuff. So maybe that's not the best thing. So maybe I have to wait for this to update afterwards to see if he actually beats out Nixon or not. But it is pretty close. It's also interesting that he's very unfavorable is at 47% compared to Nixon's was 34%. So that's another interesting little tidbit. And I think you can't really have this like thing where like, yes, they deny reality all the time, right? But you can only deny reality so much. And as people's conditions get worse, they are going to like they will eventually I think put the blame on Donald Trump even more. And I think hopefully there will be some sort of like revolt against him, like in the midterms and potentially in the presidency. The key question though is, will the Democrats be able to actually capitalize off of that or not, which I don't have as much faith in.
Individuals can see, not just with their mind's eye, but they can literally see with their eyes that name coming down. I think that there's going to be a lot of scrubbing from the history books of Donald Trump's name, the things that Donald Trump has done, and the things that won't be expunged are things like impeachment.
You know what? I think it's an important point that this for liberals is sort of like a celebratory moment. But I think it is emblematic of one of the big problems with this Trump second term. He is expending a huge amount of energy, self-aggrandizing in the office. He was elected to lower prices, make people's lives better. Instead, he's calling into meetings, according to CNN's reporting, that according to a source, it was like an episode of Veep. He's calling into meetings at the Kennedy Center to talk to them about this issue, to attack the judge's wife.
Don't forget the ballroom. We love the ballroom. It's the best ballroom. The ballroom, ballroom, ballroom. Oh, you can't afford gas. I don't care. I love the ballroom. That's what Trump's all about. I think that he cares about the ballroom way more than he cares about this like Kennedy Center personally. And yes, it looks terrible. It's a terrible look. And at least Americans still have distaste for that, I guess. But they don't like to see our president, not giving a shit about them during this time. I wish that they would get more angry at billionaires and trillionaires having ungodly amounts of wealth. And how that impacts their lives as well. But most people that's like it should be like the same sort of like anger, but we in America are so propagandized against that a lot of people don't see themselves as or don't see that as a bad thing. Like they think one day I'm going to be a trillionaire like Elon Musk or whatever.
Who was a former attorney for Joe Biden at one point. Then the board says, maybe they'll make a resolution to honor Trump that would recognize his major contributions. What is all of this about? I mean, is the entire government supposed to be working to make this one man feel good about himself?
Well, are we upset that the president of the United States took an interest in the Kennedy Center, took an interest in a building?
A lot of people are upset about that, yes.
But why? Why would they be upset about it? Now, I'll answer my own question, because they've never been able to stand the fact that Donald Trump won the White House the first time and especially the second
I have
time.
an alternative explanation.
They don't want him to be able to exercise any power, large or
Congress
small.
established the Kennedy Center as a memorial for John F. Kennedy, and that it is illegal for him to slap his name on it. That is why people are upset
Look,
about
here's
it.
the deal. He took an interest in this.
What about the law, Scott?
Well, what about it? He took an interest in it. What about it?
What about it? Who cares about the law? Law is just suggestion. That's what Scott Jennings thinks.
Let's see what I see. Well, here's what I see.
We're abiding by the law.
You can't get the government on the phone after 3 o'clock on a Friday, yet we can build scaffolding to scrape a name off the side of a building.
They build scaffolding to put a name on the side.
What? Like building scaffolding, I don't think really takes that long. Like, I mean, this isn't like the most complex thing in the world to take this stuff off. That's a silly argument.
This is what the government can do. And what is it that Democrats do for fun on a Friday night? These haters
Also, then there's the scaffolding that put it up too. You could make that same argument, I guess.
stand out on the street screeching about a name.
Wow, haters.
Unbelievable.
To your point about it is against the law, I want to give a shout out to Representative Joyce Beatty. I think that she actually tells the story that when she was on she's a member of the board and there was a meeting and she wasn't there and she called in virtually and this was not on the agenda to change the name or add Donald Trump's name to the Kennedy Center. And she tried to speak up against it. When she found out about it, she said she was shocked. They muted her. They wouldn't allow her to talk. She then actually filed the lawsuit to stop this. And on May 29th, we now find out that this when the judge said, you know what, you're right, take it down. And I just want to give her a shout out for one particular reason. When they tried to shut her down, she said it wasn't about me, it was about arts. And it's bigger than this. And it wasn't fair. And she was the only one that had enough cojones to say chutzpah.
Testicular fortitude.
Testicular fortitude. Thank you, friends. To say, you know what?
Okay, buddy.
It's not right, and someone should do something about it. She said Donald Trump was.
Okay, so like, I mean, I could always make the hypocrisy argument, which is kind of pointless to do. But would Scott Jennings like be like enjoying this if the Obama and John F. Kennedy Center, like if Obama did that? But I honestly, I've grown past even making those arguments, generally speaking, because they're so pointless to make. Hypocrisy does not matter in modern society. So what I say is just use the power that you can possibly accumulate to take all of his names off of everything, whatever power it takes. The next president should go in there and expand the power of the president even further, assuming it's like, you know, a left populist or something. Rip all of his name off of everything, get rid of the $250 bill, like his face on it, formally recognize him as a pedophile and through Congress or something, you know, punish him, you know, for all of his crimes, like throw him in jail, you know, like all of this sort of stuff. But then also at the same time, like that shouldn't be your only focus. Like also at the same time, be, you know, implementing policies unilaterally that uplift the material conditions of the working class. Seize all of Elon Musk's wealth. Seize SpaceX in its entirety. Make it a government operation. Be like, sorry, nope, that's a government operation now. Just seize it. Take it. Seize all of these billionaires' wealth above $1 billion and immediately distribute it as a refund or whatever to the working class. You know, sorry we stole all of your money from you, like refund to the working class. Like you know, implement policies like Medicare for all on day one, free college for all on day one, unilaterally. Don't bother going through Congress. Like use all of this power that Trump has gotten for the executive branch, for executive orders. And when the courts say, no, you can't do that, say, fuck you, I don't care. The people want it, so we're going to do it. You know, these are all the things that like should happen. Like I said, day one, when you get someone who actually cares about the people in charge of, you know, in charge of America. Once we get some, you know, actual populist, like, you know, left populist people, that's what needs to happen. But yes, also take down all this iconography because it's you know, it's just annoying. It's annoying to look at. I don't want to look at it.
on the meeting when she was actually trying to object, and he was trying to intimidate her with looks, and she still went ahead. So shout out to her for saying something is wrong, let's do something about it, and it should do something for all of us Americans who feel like we're not happy
Us
with
New
what's
Yorkers
going
are
on.
not surprised that Donald Trump is putting his name on everything. I mean, it's just like, it's laughable for us. I mean, his name is everywhere. I've gone to a Trump grill, and Abby, I've never seen this before. I ordered a hamburger, and on the bun, God bless him.
Burger?
And on the bun, they they char it with his profile. Like, so I'm eating President
Not
Trump.
even the name.
But you know what? I'm with Scott too. Like, you gotta have a very little going on in your life on a Friday night, and you're standing in front of the thing whistling. I mean go watch Abby Phillip on CNN. Do something productive.
I mean, you can argue that that's the case, but these are also American citizens. Maybe they care about the law.
Yeah.
Maybe they care about. Maybe they care about. Maybe they care about what the judge said.
Yeah, well, they're watching. They're excited that the law is, you know, being implemented against Donald Trump. So, and like, who cares? Why do you like? Who cares? That's sort of like posturing. Like they're acting like it's like oh, they don't have anything better to do on a Friday night or whatever. It's like, this is civic engagement. They're literally doing civic engagement instead of going out and doing something more fun, right? Like, there are plenty of, like, I'm sure that these people have plenty more fun things that they could be doing. But they are out here, celebrate. I mean, I guess in some regards, celebrating this change here. So I don't know. That's a silly thing. Anyway, I think I'm done with this story. Take it down. Take it all down. We'll we'll tear down the ballroom next. We'll tear down the Arc de Triomphe or whatever it is. We'll tear it all down as soon as Woke 2 comes back. It'll all be gone. Don't worry, people. We'll do it. Okay. I think that's got to be it for me today. I got to go do some more canvassing for Cori Bush. Thank you all for watching. I hope it was entertaining. It was a different sort of type of video that I streamed for you today. At least that first part. So, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed it as well. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye-bye.